So here is the Oldsmobile engine. It consists of three parts. The grey part at the front, on your left, is the valve chamber, the main piston body, and there's a rear component which is like the tail of the engine. You will see a grey cover plate which I will probably make of brass. So just revolving that engine around, you can see how it looks. If you look at where the symbol was moving from the back to the front of the engine and back again, that's where the external camshaft actually operates. It's driven by a worm gear on the engine, which you'll see later, and then drives a cam, which is at the front of the engine where the head is, to drive the two valves which sit in the head of the engine. So here is the bulk of the engine body. It's basically in three parts. So I've got this rear part which replicates the way the engine is constructed in the real world. I've got a head which you can see that I've got a spur one here, so you can see that's the head of the machine, so it's upside down, which accommodates the valve gear. I've printed a number of these because one of the problems I was having was getting these pieces which stick out to exactly the right dimensions, so that the worm gear, which actually drives the camshaft externally along the engine, which then operates the valve mechanism on here, it was difficult to get that correctly aligned. So I had a few goes at doing that. So there's a few spur bodies that went into the bin and a few spur heads that went into the bin, but finally I got the dimensions correct. I've actually now completed two engines, so I've got one for the runabout and one for the van. What I've been doing here is just with this grey stuff is filling it with primer and sanding it down, just to get rid of the grooves. As you probably hear it as I run my finger along, compared to that one which I've smoothed out. Very different. And what I'm going to try and do is get these smoothed out so that they look better when they're painted. So I'm going to complete the engines and then I shall dismantle them for painting. I have the engine here, and I just thought I'd illustrate the camshaft, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of how the valves are operated on the engine. So as you can see, I've put some small brass pieces in there and there, which is effectively the bushes for the camshaft. I'm just going to put this piece in here. It's a bit long, but it doesn't really matter because it's just for demonstration purposes. And then there is a small, you can see that, a small worm gear which goes in the side of the engine there. So hopefully you can see that now. There's a small worm gear there. This is a camshaft that I've made. I'm not sure whether it's that easy to see, but it is in fact oval on the end. That gets pushed into the engine like so, and then into the rear bush, if I can find it. Okay, so that's it in the rear bush, and you can see that will turn. And then there is a gear which goes on there, and hopefully you can see that when I turn that little gear, the camshaft turns, right? Or at least the gear turns, because it's not fixed to the camshaft yet. And then that would operate the end, and at the end there is a valve arrangement which I've yet to make, push rods and that will operate the valves. So that'll be my next task on the engine. But that in principle is how the camshaft works. And here is a picture of the engine that I'm building. As you can see, there's the camshaft running along here, there's the cam at the end, and then there are a series of levers, one which lifts the inlet valve and one which lifts the exhaust valve, and this is the bit that I have to build next.